Good Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome into Philly AM with Al. That's me. And Mike, that's him. What's going on, everybody? Mikey, what's going on with you?
Another day in paradise. Howie just showing the rest of the GMs in the NFL how to get things done.
Listen, there's some things that I'll tell you about from the overarching, what I saw from the draft versus the just things that still scratch my head that people still do, that you think that the recipe's out there, but some people just aren't willing to read it. But a lot of cover in this Sunday morning between the NFL draft results. We'll go over that. We got the Pittsburgh Penguins and Flyers. They live to fight another day. Monday night, of course, Monday evening will be that day. We don't have a time yet on that. I don't think yet. They haven't announced it yet. I'll keep my eye on if that changes while we're on here. The Phillies did this weird thing called winning. So there's that.
That's why,
so
it's raining. That's why it's raining. They won a game.
We'll chat about that. But you know, when we this network was started and we brought, you know, some friends in from Pittsburgh, I'm like, I really hope it'd be interesting to see how this will interact together. But we did not think we were going to need these guys and work together as much as we thought we would. So for another round of I don't know, interesting conversation. We'll try to keep the peen talk to a minimum here with the Inzers. But John, our boy John's here. John, bring it on in. What's going on, buddy?
Might have been a little tuned up that night. I'm not saying I didn't have a few pops. I'm not saying I didn't, but you know, I tried to keep it mild but entertaining.
There's the Pittsburgh right there. You heard the word pop.
Pop. Yes, pop.
I knew it was coming.
How you guys doing this morning?
John, I'm actually okay. I am a little. I like what my Birds did in the draft, except for one. The Cole Payton pick for me. Why? That's the only other thing that why? Why do we need a left-handed quarterback
from North Dakota?
From North Dakota State. I mean, and the guy's built like a fullback. And I got a question for you, John.
You did have a quarterback from North Dakota State once before who did pretty well for a brief period of time. I will say that, but go ahead.
Okay. True. Now, in your case with the Steelers, why did you guys take Drew Allard at 76? That made no sense to me.
Well, fair, but let me say why. Because he was a Mike McCarthy pick as opposed to Will Howard, who was from the previous regime. So, you know, he's the quarterback whisperer, supposedly, right? This McCarthy, and again, hometown boy. He's taking over for the legend that is Mike Tomlin, who apparently is going to go on NBC Sports and spout his Tomlinisms, and people are going to love him for it. But the truth of the matter is that this was a Mike McCarthy choice. The original plan, guys, the original plan for this draft initially, and this only got leaked after Thursday's, first round debacle, which we'll get into in a minute. Great for you, bad for us. The original plan was to draft a quarterback. And, we had all this, we had 12 picks, right? We have, players that they could potentially add, maybe a Nick Herbig or somebody of that nature, somebody that might be of interest to a team perhaps. And they didn't. They scrapped that idea because, look, the quarterback draft was a little thin, right? It was a little thin this year. It's going to be better next year. So once that happened, they quickly realized, okay, we're going to go another position first and second round. Somewhere in the third round, and it has been talked about since the season that Drew, and I know you do the Penn State show, that Drew Allar would be, a very real candidate. Here's what I'll say about Allar, and I didn't watch him very much at Penn State. I watched him, offhand a few times here and there. The knock on him is he couldn't win a big game, right? He plays against a superior opponent. His teams don't win. And that's fine. That's fair, a fair, point to bring out. But I look at his intangibles. I look at the fact that he's got a big arm. I look at the fact that he seems to be a natural leader from what, and I know people at Penn State. I grew up with Brian Chismar. I grew up with a few people that went to school there that were involved in the athletic department. From what I can gather, he is a leader, like a natural leader that those players really kind of were drawn to. And I may be wrong, but that's the indication that I got. This is a pick for McCarthy and to test his ability to take a young talent like that and try to prepare them to become an NFL quarterback. Given the fact that, that this 42-year-old malcontent who played well for us last year is at the end of his career, I think it also sends a message to them. It's like, look, pal, would we like to have you? Probably, yeah. But if we don't, we're moving on. Mason Rudolph's going to start the season. And then what this does for McCarthy is it gives him the opportunity to pit out Alar and Will Howard against one another to battle it out for number 2. And we'll see where the chips fall at that point in time. Look, we could use a 4-13 season. I'm not going to lie to you, right? We've been stuck in this mediocre Mike phase of this franchise for a decade, and I'd welcome a 4-13 season. I would absolutely. I would love to have a top 5.
Careful what you wish for on that.
No, you know what? And that's all well and good. The last time we had a top 10 pick, we took Ben Roethlisberger. Worked out decently, right? You know what I mean? And with the fact that it's and I hear what you're saying, Al. Be careful what you wish for, because you could end up having a whole boat.
But I do get what you're saying, because if you don't ever get out of that, you'll never have a place to pick from. And let me ask this question: as you just mentioned, the QBs of this draft were few and far in between. But did the Rams just screw everything up with the Ty Simpson pick? Like the one that kind of most, I think that was the most out of the blue first round pick, head scratcher.
That was the biggest. That was the biggest reach of the whole draft. Was them going for Ty Simpson at 13. I was doing a show over on Out of the Box. Like they do a yearly draft show as well. And I literally counted back 9 spaces that the Rams could have dropped back, still got Simpson, and probably would have upped their draft capital a lot by moving back. Probably if they moved back 4 slots, they still could have got Simpson. But I thought that was reach, and I'm going to go with the Steelers here too. I think that was a reach with Alar because there was better quarterbacks on the board. You had Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. That kid didn't even go until late in the 6th round or 7th round yesterday, and he was a better quarterback than Alar. And I will say this: as far as Alar, I watched every one of his starts. There, he wasn't the reason that they lost. It was the head coach. Failure to do the coaching staff, their failure to make adjustments. It was, this is our offense. We're going to stick it down your throat no matter how much you can stop it. It was like a ram running his head into a wall. That's what it was. And he does have a big arm. I just feel like there was quarterbacks that were a little bit better than him that were still available. And I think when I looked, and I got the call from my son when he said, "Dad, our quarterback went to the Steelers." I know he doesn't live that far away from Pittsburgh in Ohio. So I don't know if that was more of a, hey, we're going to bring him home type of deal. Because, like I said, there was definitely quarterbacks that were a little better than Drew Aller that were still left in this draft.
Well, he grew up a Browns fan, actually, but he is close to Pittsburgh.
No wonder why he can't win a big game.
Right, exactly. No, yeah, he grew up a Browns fan. He actually said that in his presser on Saturday, and but he's like, I've quickly become a giant Steelers fan, and that's fine. You know what I mean? I think that's all just that's fun stuff, and that's just for the chatter on the Reddit boards and God knows where else, but in the darkest depths of the web. But I'm okay with the pick. Look, clearly they made it a crapshoot. Clearly they made it a crapshoot draft when they had the debacle on Thursday. The only real talent, that I feel like, is going to have an impact early on in the first season is Bernard, the wide receiver they took from Georgia. I mean, I think from Alabama. I think he's going to have some impact for them. The kid from Georgia, the defensive back, might play some as well. But this was very much a throw 10 darts on the board and see what we can maybe develop. But I'm okay with the Aller pick. Like I said, I like his big arm. I don't necessarily, take the 0-6 mark against like the top 5 teams and hold that completely against him.
Here's my thing on that. To cut you off, is I don't hate on Drew Aller like a lot of other people do. When he first came out, everybody was high on Drew Aller, and I was, as a Penn State fan, keep an eye on it. And like you said, he has a lot of the pieces that you need to be a good quarterback in the NFL: physical, size, the abilities, things like that. My thing is, can you hold that against him, or was it just Penn State in general? Penn State has not won against a big game during that time frame of a certain head coach. He remains unmentionable. When let him go down to Virginia, wherever the heck he ended up going to. But that's why I won't hold that against him. The whole Mike McCarthy quarterback whisperer thing, I don't know if you believe in that, John.
No.
I don't think so either, because he did best when Aaron Rodgers was not old and maybe
right.
a little bit of a D-bag, not a whole complete D-bag. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I guess it goes back to even when he was an assistant and he was at New Orleans and what have you. But no, I don't believe any of that stuff. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers, his talent, made him the superstar that he was for so many years. And I don't know if there would have been anything that, Mike could have added to it, maybe a few things here and there. And you're probably right about James Franklin being the bigger crux of the problem at Penn State and not winning big games. Now he's down at Virginia Tech, and my God, they had their spring game, and the poor SOB who was parachuting in hit the scoreboard. Did you happen to see that?
Yeah, I read about it. Yeah, and you know what? It's really bad too, because that's a bucket list place of mine. I have 3 places I want to go. I want to do Blacksburg because I want to experience entertainment in the beginning of the game. I want to go to Iowa. I want to go to Iowa to do the wave to the kids. And my last one is I want to do jump around in Madison. Like, I want to do those 3 things. And when
if
he
you
went
can,
to
I would advise you to go to an Alabama game or a Georgia game. Like they're it's not about, like, I know all those ones you mentioned have their little like things that they do in the beginning of the game to like get things going, which is cool. And I want to do they're on my list too if I could get it, because I at one point tried doing a college football tour right in my late teens, early 20s before settling down and all that stuff. And I did go to a couple of those games just to get a taste of what it was like. The way the city shut down, like even like Columbus, Ohio. I'm not Ohio. I hate Ohio State, but I've been out there my buddy lives out there, and I've been out there for Ohio State games. They like the way the city becomes a ghost town. You can probably rob the city blind, and nobody would be notice until Sunday morning. You know what I mean? Like
2 places I've been to in West Virginia. I did professional wrestling. I actually wrestled in Morgantown the night we were wrestling at West Virginia State or West Virginia University, right in there where they play basketball out of their little apron. It's like a 10,000 seat arena. We wrestled in there that night, but they had played football earlier that afternoon. We were actually fortunate. I was actually on the sidelines. We had sideline passes to go watch. I think West Virginia. It was the backyard brawl. They played Pitt, and we got a chance to go watch that game live. And I also been to Huntington to go see a Marshall game. You want to talk about? You're exactly right. Like, Huntington was shut down. So was Morgantown. They were shut down. It was really it was a cool thing to see, to experience those. But like for me, Alabama and Georgia, they rarely play at home anymore. They play at the big NFL stadium. Like Georgia got half their games said at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or whatever it's called down there in Atlanta. They play half of their games there.
Yeah, I've been to a Peach Bowl. So I lived down south for 4.5 years in South Carolina, and I went to the Peach Bowl Mercedes-Benz Stadium, best stadium in the country. And if I could just add one place that you need to go to, have you ever been to a Rose Bowl?
No, but that's a bucket list.
I've been to Pasadena right up before the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
The place was decorated for it and all that. That was cool, but I was not there actually for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, if you get a chance, make the pilgrimage to Pasadena and go see a Rose Bowl. It's the most picturesque stadium in college football, I think, and just an old haunt, a venue that's been around a long time. It's seen its share of great games, great players. But those are all great venues to certainly get to. Just to go back to Aller, he's 6'5.5". He's got all the physical stuff. I do think that this shapes up well for the Steelers. And at this point in time, I go back and forth on the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. We've been in this rut for, and you guys complain about your quarterback, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls, by the way. I just remind Philly fans that he's been to 2 Super Bowls.
Don't lump this in all together, okay?
Right. Like at least you have some sort of crux of players that are core players that have helped this team win and at the most important position. We don't have that. It's just been a disaster since, I'd say 2019, 2018, when Ben had that, injury that he didn't play the rest of 2019. And then, the COVID year. And he's just, he was at the end of his career and he just was a beaten up, battered guy. And we've just kind of been in this really weird rut the last 8 years. I think it's just time. I really think it's time to cut bait with Rodgers. He's going to he'll probably make a decision in June or July, which is completely insane. And it doesn't help the franchise.
That's my point. Anybody who's waiting on Aaron Rodgers is a shell of what he used to be. I think we all can admit that. Like, he can still sling it to for a guy his age. I'll give him credit where credit's due. All the what's that, ashwagandha or whatever the hell he eats, all the nature walks he takes, and all the peyote he goes through. I don't know, whatever the hell he does that helps him somewhat stay young. I think part of it is because he makes it way too much about himself. And I used to like Aaron Rodgers a little while. Like, he'd be a guy I would kind of root for if the Eagles were out of it or something. Just kind of see him do it. But if you kind of look at him under a microscope, his career, he had 1 Super Bowl. He had some playoff runs, don't get me wrong, but he had 1 Super Bowl. I believe it was against Pittsburgh, right? And back in, was it
2010?
2010. Yeah, I was going to say 2010. So 16 years ago, the guy, sometimes I just don't understand why people, I don't think he's a big jersey seller. Maybe I'm wrong on that, as much as people put it. Like, I don't see any reason why any owner wants him. He's not the kind of quarterback who's going to go, don't worry, I'll take Drew Allard under my arm and and walk him around and show him the do's and don'ts of NFL quarterbacks. He's the kind of guy who goes, no, I'm gonna suck all the talent out of you and use it for myself, because I'm gonna do some Indian witch doctor crap to you to steal it from you. Like, he's that kind of guy. So I never understood anybody wanting to run it with him one time unless you just had no quarterbacks. I would rather run it with a complete unknown like Drew Allard and move forward. But we have to talk about, I'm going to put this one up, the elephant in the room. Yes, I used it for you, buddy, because one of the biggest moments of the draft and all the outcome, the spewage, all the stuff that came after it has been just must watch Twitter, or X or whatever you want to call it, must watch TV, and implications that we didn't even think of when it all went down. Is first round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles goes to Mekhi Lemon, USC wide receiver. A good pick in my eyes in some ways, and where a lot of the conversation should be going this way, pretty much, is this the nail in the coffin for A.J. Brown, which I think most people will agree with at this point. Not that he's A.J. Brown, don't get me wrong. But what transpired to get him here? So let me set the table, then, John, I'm going to have you kind of fill in the blanks for a second here. For those who don't know, or were in a box during the draft, the number 20 pick was traded with the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. The Philadelphia Eagles traded with the Dallas Cowboys. And by the way, one of the better Jerry Jones comments that I will agree with, which is not something often I do, he was asked in an interview after it all went down. He said, if you eliminate all the teams I want to beat their ass, you wouldn't have anybody to trade with. because somebody asked him, why would you trade with your division opponents and give them an opportunity to steal a player that they want? And he goes, Philadelphia has an edge, but I got a bigger grin out of what they did. So even Jerry the Jerry Jones enjoyed it. But for those who, like I said, didn't know, they traded with the Dallas Cowboys, gave up 2 4th-round picks. Right, or yeah, 2 4th rounds, right? Yeah,
2 4ths and a 7th.
2 4ths and a 7th. They moved up 3 spots, and they were able to pick Mekhi Lemon, who the guy they wanted. But it was the video people showing Mekhi Lemon on the phone with the Steelers. The Steelers saw that here come the Cowboys. They knew the Cowboys were going to go defense, especially the safety, cornerback position, because that's where they had the worst problems with last year. And seeing what the Eagles are doing, they had to go, attack that area, which again is still a little surprising, knowing that what they knew was going to happen. But beside the fact they allowed it to happen, they moved up. Why? While the trade's going down, here's the Steelers on the phone telling, hey, Mekhi Lemon, you're a Pittsburgh Steeler. And Howie Roseman said, hold my beer. Swooped in and stole Mekhi Lemon, was on the phone. And you could even hear him go, why is he on the phone with the Steelers? And became kind of a little bit of a joke. But now we're hearing there might be some, I didn't know there's rules against it, but disciplinary issues going on. John, what is the Pittsburgh take from the situation?
Yeah, so it was just a very unhappy group of Yinzers that watched all of that unfold. Good morning, Robert. Thank you so much. So they came into this draft. Initially, they thought that they were going to need a quarterback at first, but then they scrapped that idea. And then it became either wide receiver or offensive lineman. And as the draft began to unfold on Thursday, it became clear that his stock had dropped. Apparently, he did not do well in his interviews at the combine. When the Super Bowl was over, he was a top 5 pick, right? Mm-hmm. He was top 10 consensus. And then the combine happened. And then all of a sudden, once you're on Thursday and the draft begins to unfold, once he slipped past 10, I think the Steelers realized they were going to have an opportunity to take this kid. But what did they do? They sat around. They had all these picks. They had 12 picks. It was very well known. The talk was they've got to make a splash. The draft is here. It's going to be in front of hundreds of thousands of Pittsburghers, a good portion of the season ticket holders, right? Everybody in town is expecting them to move up in some capacity and make a splash of some kind. The draft is here. You want to do that sort of thing, right, in front of your fan base, especially secure somebody in the first round because you're at 21. If you could move up even 3-4 spots and get the kid and it costs you a few extra picks, so what? And what did they do? They sat around and they did absolutely nothing, and they got caught snoozing, whereas another organization who has been winning as of late, right? You've got 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years. You have, an ownership group, and you have a general manager and a front office that is dedicated to continuing that march. Whereas this franchise here in Pittsburgh has been stuck in mediocre Mike land for more than a decade. And now that he's gone, you've got another Mike that's in here, and he wants to make a good impression. And they just fell asleep. They had no plan. They just thought the kid's going to fall to us. And Philadelphia had different plans. And then that put everything into panic mode. And that's why you ended up having the IMAX pick. I call him IMAX. It's Ihirachor. That's his last name, Max Ihirachor, the offensive tackle out of Arizona State. He was projected 28, 29, 30. So he was a late first round pick, but they had to make a reach at that point in time. And as soon as that pick got made, I don't know if you remember or not, everybody just, you saw like 290,000 fans just go the other way. they were like, what the hell happened? Who's this guy?
Honestly, I think they did you a favor. Can I just put that out there?
Okay,
listen, and Mike's going to start rolling his eyes in about 3 seconds with me saying this because he knows I'm part and partial to linemen, especially offensive linemen. As an offensive line coach for 15 years, and played it my whole football career, not that it was long or anything, but my point is like, I think you did better because we just talked about you have maybe Aaron Rodgers coming back. You have a bunch of unknown quarterbacks. and not that it makes a difference for this year, but what is a wide receiver going to do if you don't even know who's throwing the damn ball at this point? And protecting a guy who may be good or maybe become something, in my eyes, is more important than getting another big, skills guy at this moment in time. So I think Eagles may have did a favor to the Steelers. Maybe made you guys feel a little silly, especially with now that everything's under a camera. Like, that's the thing, is I love all this stuff now. People forget, like, everything, you're always being recorded. Like, we are on constant surveillance, especially when you're in the draft, especially with what's going on. But do you think there's going to be some disciplinarian issues coming down, like maybe a draft pick loss or some sort of fine? I don't know how this works. Like, I don't know if it helps the Eagles or just it's a fine they pay to the NFL or whatever. Draft pick swap.
No, absolutely not. I think everything was on the up and up Thursday night. I mean, and I saw the whole Jerry Jones stuff on Friday as well. They had a little presser, and I heard him say what you had mentioned. If I'm mad at everybody, how I would never be able to make deals with anyone. I mean,
and I think that's believe it or not, that's one of the few smartest things I've ever heard from Jerry Jones.
Right. Well, Jerry's been a maverick his whole tenure there. I mean, he forced the league into a lot of change. I don't know if you'll remember this, and I was early in my media career. He forced the league to allow him to work with Pepsi. He did a $25 million deal with Pepsi when Coke was the preferred sponsor for the NFL. Jerry has always been a maverick and has always been ahead of the curve. I'll say that much about him. That's why he's a billionaire. But great move by Philadelphia to go and be proactive. Shame on the Steelers for just not having a plan in place. And we don't take impact guys in these skill positions in the first round. I mean, we're always offensive line or a defensive player or some sort of impact. They moved up to get Troy Polamalu years ago. That worked out pretty well. But Ryan Shazier, right? High impact defensive players or offensive linemen have always been our first round staple. I want to see more skill impact, and wide receiver is something that I think we kind of need. I mean, you can't have enough good wide receivers for your quarterbacks to throw to. And again, who knows who's going to be in charge? Maybe it's Mason Rudolph to start. It could be Aaron Rodgers. Either way, it was a loss for the Steelers and a big win for Philadelphia.
Well, I'm going to kind of push back on the whole, Howie thing too, because I know one guy that was very high on the Eagles board was Monroe Freeling, the tackle from Georgia. And it just so happens he went at 19. So, maybe I'm really starting to think maybe, the Mekhi Lemon was kind of an overreaction for the Eagles too. Like, they probably looked and seen that like Lemon was probably still there and was like, hey, we can bring him in. But I know Monroe was Freeland or whatever his last name is.
Freeling, yes.
Freeling. Yeah, he was very high on the Eagles list. For to be drafted, and he went to Carolina at 19. So I'm wondering if it was just an overreaction by Howie to sit there and go, okay, we lost one of our guys and we don't get to pick yet, and we need to move up. We got to call Dallas to get ahead of Pittsburgh, because Mekhi Lemon's a Pittsburgh kid, or he's from around that area. So he would have had a chance to come home and play for his hometown team. And when it was on the phone, like, you saw the emotion coming from his family to play. And like, even still, now the kid, he's not playing for his hometown team, but he's still in the same state. So, they get a chance to still come see him play. But I don't know, like, maybe we're giving Howie a little too much credit, I think, with this. Because, like I said, I know Freeling was very high on their draft board. And once he got taken, it might have been Freeling, then Lemon. And they probably figured, hey, we need to get up there and go get Lemon before he gets taken in front of us.
I think they just figured Freeling would have probably cost them too much to go get, and jump 3 spots with Dallas. And listen, probably because it was Dallas, it was 2 4th-round picks. If it wasn't Dallas, maybe it was going to be 1 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick. The Dallas is like, well, we're going to get a little extra out of it than, if it's a non-divisional opponent. John, number one, thank you for coming on short notice. 9 a.m. on a Sunday is not easy to do. So, one last thing before we let you go. I'm going to ask you about the Pittsburgh Penguins live to fight another day. The Flyers kind of look like what we saw, and I'm going to give Matty B credit on this one. They kind of look like what we saw from them
Post pre
Olympics
yeah,
for the first 1.5 periods of the Flyers Penguins game last night. The jam came back a little bit into into the a little late. It was a really dumb goal was the second one when Vladar left the net, and Crosby took advantage of them not paying attention with the first goal. It was, did the Flyers make a mistake? Did they give the Steelers a chance?
Not yet. The Penguins are Philadelphia is still very much in control of this series. We have gotten no production from our bottom six. Let's start there. Chinikov has done virtually nothing in this series, and since the trade that we made to bring him and a few others over. We've seen no production from him. Sidney Crosby had 1 assist going into last night, and he was able to have a good evening. Chris Letang showed up a little bit. For being the third highest goal scoring team in the NHL this year, Philadelphia has done a jam up job, and Vladar obviously has been a big part of that. But we got production from the right players last night. But make no mistake about it, Philadelphia is very much in control here. And even if they lose Game 5 coming into Pittsburgh, they still have a game at home to close it out. And so, if I'm a Flyers fan, I'm shaking off last night as just being one game in a 7-game series against a bitter rival who still has to win 3 more to advance.
That's what I wanted to ask you, John, before you get off. Does this series go past Monday, considering how the Flyers have played on the road? The Flyers have played very excellent on the road.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, what will be the fan reaction in Pittsburgh if they do lose at home on Monday night and they lose 3 games in their own building? Like, how's that going to resonate out there on the western side of the state?
Well, the disappointment for sure, but I mean, I don't think anybody thought that this team was a playoff contender this year, right? Your 3 biggest stars are at the very end of their career, right? To get the kind of production that they did. And again, Crosby's just an all-time great. Just to continue to produce the numbers that he does. And the NHL isn't as high paced as it was 30 years ago. Like when I grew up watching the NHL, it was a 8-5, 6-4. You know what I mean? There was a ton of scoring back in the 80s and early 90s before, the left wing lock and the game kind of changed a little bit. Significantly, I should say. But fans, I think, were happy to get into the postseason. Would they be disappointed losing to Philadelphia? Absolutely. No question about it. You always want to beat your rival. But I think it goes past Monday. I do. I think the goaltender change was good for us. Dan Hughes did not hesitate. He decided he was going to make a switch in net, which I think, was very helpful in terms of, giving the rookie Slovis an opportunity. He made 28 saves last night. Stuart Skinner had played well prior to that, but it was a good move on Muse's part. I anticipate Slovis will be in net on Monday. You're not going to make that kind of change in this type of scenario. You're going to see if you can get more of that out of him. But the bottom 6 players, Chinikov, as I had mentioned, they need production from those guys. If they get production, we'll see a Game 6 in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the other way on this. Until I see Pittsburgh, like you said, their bottom 6 start to score, and I think the Flyers, the one thing they've done throughout since the winter, since they came back from winter break, is they've made adjustments after a loss, and the Flyers team has played some pretty top-notch teams in that time span. Like they've had their run-ins with Dallas and with Boston and with Dallas, Boston, Colorado. They were able to come back and literally come back and beat these teams. And I feel like with Pittsburgh not taking one of those first 2 games at home, I feel like it's kind of put them behind the 8 ball in this. Now, can they come out and win Monday night? Yes. I want to see, honestly, what Rick Tockett's going to do because, last night's game, we were supposed to see some more of our I guess, youth infusion in last night. There was supposed to be, I don't know why he kind of kept it the same, but I know, they've had Oliver Bonk sitting up here as kind of a healthy scratch. Oliver Bonk was talked about being put in for last night's game. So I'm wondering if maybe they do that. I'm just not sold. I know Pittsburgh had to get a game, and I think last night was probably the best game that they played, and the Flyers actually kind of reverted back. I want to see them both. I want to see what these teams do when both teams are playing at their best and see what's going on, because I also feel like Pittsburgh, I think the Flyers have done a great job on the specialty teams. Last night, to me, I felt was an anomaly because Vladar hasn't played like that in months. And I just feel like they're going to bounce back. Like I said, they've been very, very good on the road. But another question maybe you can answer too is a lot of guys from your side out there, a lot of people were picking a gentleman's sweep for the Penguins leading into the series. I know some of your old counterparts at 93.7, I was listening to them, and they were just, whew, like you would have never, you would have thought the Flyers, people, 8 teams lost to get them in, like they weren't winning.
No, look, I've done sports talk radio. The hyperbole and the hype is all, it's a little smoke and mirrors and shtick, and that's all well and good. If the Penguins had won one of those first two, we're talking about a 3-game series at this point with 2 games potentially at home for Pittsburgh.
Right. Exactly.
But we're not. Philadelphia has done everything that they were supposed to do. Shut down the big, Crosby. The bottom 6 have been ineffective. No Chinakhov anywhere to be found, and he has been such a dynamic player since we got him. And I'm going to say something about Nooms for 9, who said, hey, we're not worried about this because we've got a couple recent cups. Those were 9 and 10 years ago. That's not recent. Okay, it's not recent at all. I mean, when you get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's win and go, move forward. The hardest trophy to win in professional sports. It is an absolute grind. 2 months of just pure physical, play style, all of that. I think we'll see a 2-1 game on Monday. I can't see it being more than 2-1 or maybe 3-1 with an empty netter. I'm not even sure who's going to win Monday night, but Philadelphia very much still in charge of this series, guys.
Well, John, where can they find you, buddy?
You're always welcome to go on my X account or on YouTube at Steel City Sunday and go check out what we're doing. I appreciate Mike and Al, you guys having me on. I love being a part of It's a Wrap Sports. I know my schedule has, I can't do the Monday, the nightly shows like I had been. Just my day job. I had 2,200 miles in the car last week. I drove to Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and back. And so it just doesn't allow me to do as much as I want to. But I'm always happy to come on any of your shows and chat it up with you guys. I really appreciate you having me on this morning.
Oh, no problem, buddy.
You, bud. If you want to talk more, if you want to trash some Pirates or Penguins, just come on. They'll take the heat as much as they'll take the love, right?
Right, absolutely. And now, by the way, the Pirates are only 2 games back of first right now. I mean, they're
April Pirates baseball. I'm just saying,
it's early. It's
early yet. Actually, believe it or not, John,
good in April.
Hey, John, listen. Believe it or not, when I did my predictions, I got the Reds winning that division this year. I took the Reds to win that division when we did our pre-season show here for the Phillies. So, I'm looking forward to it, man. And I'm looking forward to, doing my Happy Valley Huddle because I will definitely be hitting you up for that as we get closer to college football season.
I'm a text away, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, John, take it easy, bud.
That is John Phillips, Pittsburgh Sports Desk and other amongst other things that you will Steel City Sunday. I love having John on because he'll give it to us a little bit. He'll razz us a little bit, but I'll tell you what.
No, I'd rather have that anyway. Now, I know we're 40 minutes into it. It was a little longer than we expected, and we thank John for going longer. OT is always, you have to send him his overtime check now.
Cut it, Matty.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, Mike, if you're okay with it, I can go a little longer. If you're okay with it, we'll just keep it rolling.
I got no plans. I got a doctor filling me up later, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah,
Jamie? No.
no, not Dr. Jamie. Dr. Jamie's not in the best of moods right now.
Gotcha. I'm not gonna
no,
we don't need to get into that, but
yeah.
for everybody, we're still gonna talk the Phillies with getting off the schneid a little bit, and what that could mean, maybe mean. What do you want it to mean? Anything? As I talked to Boston, had fired their coach even with 10 wins, and now everybody wants him. Everybody wants Alex Carrera for the Phillies. So, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. So let's talk about the draft because that's what everybody wants to talk about right now. Let's just kind of run down this, Mike, and I want you can give me a grade A, B, C, D in this move and all that stuff. We've already talked about it for a moment. What is your just feelings about it? Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver, adding to the Green Bay Packers type wide receiver room that looks like with the Eagles now. We'll talk about the implications of what this means down the line. But what is your overall feelings about Mekhi Lemon?
I like what I seen from Mekhi Lemon. Sorry if you see me moving and dodging. My wife's throwing things at me right about now. So I'm kind of
Matrix over here.
Yeah, exactly. Except I don't look that good going far back like that. I look like a fat whale stuck out of water. But
okay,
anyway,
that way, bud.
But no, I wasn't happy at the moment because didn't understand why you're taking a wide receiver. And then I thought about it they did spend a lot heavy the last couple of years on defense. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe since they spent it. And then I remembered watching him and I'm going, oh, that's who they got. I knew that the one, I didn't know which wide receiver from USC I knew they had a really good one. And I remember watching them play throughout the college year. And I'm going, oh, hold on. Is that the kid that was making all the plays for SC? And then they showed the highlights, and I'm like, oh, they got him. So, again, I think, if you're looking at the draft grades on this, I would give them like an A-. The only one that I'm questioning is your 5th round pick of Cole Payton. He, to me, is a Y. And like, it's not like he can, it's not like he can throw. He's not Michael Vick left-hand stylish. Like, to me, he reminds me of the hefty lefty from, you remember Jarrett Lorenz? Rest in peace. The hefty. That's what he reminds me of. He's like a fullback playing quarterback. So unless, he's going to be a project at best, and I really don't think he sticks on this team. What we all wanted to see happen, okay, is we wanted to see Tanner McKee get moved for something. So what's that saying? If you're keeping Tanner McKee around, this is
like was this. Hey, listen, we all know Howie isn't done. I mean, you have June 1st for AJ Brown, which, I mean, with that pick, does this just put the nail in the coffin for you for the AJ Brown conversation?
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, he's going to get moved. Now, question is,
no, hold on. Is there any chance they somehow keep him around at this point?
Dude, look at that room. I mean, look at
the Green Bay room. This is a very Green Bay-like thing where Sean Mannion came from. I'm not sitting there saying I'm holding out hope that they keep everybody, because you can't. Who are you going to throw the ball to at this point? Like, I mean,
if you're looking at all the wide receivers they have right there, I mean, you would have to get rid of a guy like Darius Cooper, who, I mean, he's more than just a receiver. He played special teams for you too. So now you're getting rid of him. Which one out of the Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore guys are going to stick around? Because they're not going to cut this kid Lemon. They just drafted him. They're not going to cut. They're not going to cut Deontay Wicks because they traded for him. So if you're looking at it right now, there's your starting 4 right there. So what is Hollywood Brown going to get cut? I mean, we've seen weirder things happen with the Eagles with certain name guys coming in here.
The Sean Mannion tree does like to carry many, like a 6 or 7 wide receivers that they will utilize throughout the game, because this could be the new offensive scheme of
right.
And I don't hate this spreading the ball around, because when Jalen Hurts had his best years, that's what happened.
You're right, but here's the thing. they were spreading the ball around last year. And what happened? AJ
They
Brown.
won. Yeah, they won when they spread the ball around.
They did. They
If
did.
they
But
forced it to AJ Brown, we
they were
started losing.
losing. Right, exactly. So again, he's going to want his touches and targets. To me, this spells like he is gone. And you know what? I feel like they have to for them to go out and do this. They have to have what they wanted. You know, a first and a third. I mean, you got to remember what with whatchamacallit got. What the hell's his name? The kid that was in Miami that ended up getting traded. They got like a first,
Waddle.
Waddle, yeah, they got like a first, a third, and a fourth for him. Brown's going to get more than that back. The Patriots are going to have to be willing to give it up, which means
there's the conspiracy theorists that believe that they didn't need to draft Lomu, however you say his name, from Utah, the offensive tackle in the first round. That was going to be part of the deal. You know what I mean?
Fine.
We get whatever other draft picks or whoever.
That's fine. So okay. So you know what I would do? I would look at them and say, all right, here's AJ here's AJ, you give us Lomas in the first. I would not change off of getting a first round pick for AJ Brown. Okay, you drafted him, that's your problem.
If you get Lomo, is that a first round pick? I mean, they might say, he's there, I want you to take him.
Yeah, it's like a car. It's like a car. When you buy a car, when it's on the lot, it's this price. But the moment it gets put out onto the street, it depreciates. You know what I mean? This kid hasn't played a snap yet, so you don't know what you're getting. Okay? So, you drafted him. You thought highly of him to get it. Howie could turn around and say, listen, man, we had this dude like mid-second round. You know what I mean? Nah, I'm not giving you a first for that. This is what we want. You want A.J. Brown, this is what you're going to get. You want to throw him in, that's fine. Maybe we'll take a fourth round pick off. You'll send us a first and a third. Okay? For me, Howie has all the leverage because we have what they want. Either you pay the price or he stays on this team. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to – and the whole thing, too, is don't count out the Rams because we don't know the extension of the issue with Puka Nacua.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now that you point that out, was the Ty Simpson pick a lean that they could be working with the Rams? Because they didn't go get a guy to really help out for today. Ty Simpson's a 2 years off. I mean, people are really upset with the Ty Simpson pick in the sense of them getting a quarterback in the first round, not to help to win today because they were, maybe a play. Listen, give the Rams credit. They were, Stafford at his age and everything. He's still a high caliber quarterback.
Yeah.
And one more year could make a difference for them. Could that be all right, listen, we get our guy of the future and we're going to get AJ Brown in a trade?
I mean, it could be. I mean, there's all types of teams that could.
That goes with Dooms' question here. Did they lose or did they gain their leverage?
They gained leverage as far as I'm concerned because, again, the price is the Eagles don't have to trade A.J. Brown. They can look at A.J. and go, listen, you can bitch moan all you want. You are under contract here. We tried to move you. We feel your value is set at this. We're not giving you away for pennies on the dollar. And, to be honest with you, we got to do what's best for our franchise.
No, there has to be. I think, listen, AJ's a diva. AJ wants what AJ wants and is a little selfish in some ways. But I think AJ's also not dumb, and he gets that. And, some people are like, well, screw what he wants. No, and I agree with that. I'm like, I'm not sending him to the Patriots because that's what he wants. I'm sending him to where it works best for us. And let the Patriots think that let them think that they're tops in the league or the talks to bring them in, bring AJ Brown to there. Because if you talk to any Pats fan, they think they're already making AJ Brown jerseys for themselves. You know what I mean?
And what would be funny? It would be funny if he ended up somewhere like Buffalo or Cleveland. Again,
Pittsburgh.
It all depends. Pittsburgh. Yeah, hey, I mean, can you imagine him and DK?
AJ Brown, Tanner McKee, mega trade between. We'll have to have John back on if that happens. The AJ Brown and the Tanner McKee.
I don't want Tanner to go nowhere. I want Tanner to stay right where he is. I want him to get to know this system because I feel like our starting quarterback is under the microscope for this year. I really, truly do. I feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure now on Jalen Hurts because now if they move Brown, you got the elephants out of the room, to say the least. Now you can just concentrate on ball, and I want to see how he reacts to this. And apparently he's had a smile on his face about this offense. If you've seen any kind of reaction from him, he's kind of had a smile. So maybe this is something that he likes. And it goes back to the number 1 draft pick, Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon is a Swiss Army knife. I equate him to a Deebo Samuel for us. He can line up out of the backfield. He's not scared to go across the middle. And he's able to get yak after the catch. So for me, them going out and getting him, the way I'm looking right now, post A.J. Brown, if they move on from A.J., okay, you have Devontae as your 1, you have Devontae Wicks as your number 2, and you're going to have Mekhi Lemon as your slot guy. I think Hollywood Brown starts as your slot guy, but I think over time, Mekhi Lemon moves in. And I think Elijah Moore is just going to be one of those pieces, if he makes the team, to kind of come in and spell out. You know, I think them signing Elijah Moore was just a last-ditch effort to try to keep A.J. Brown on his team. It's his best friend, one of his best friends. You know, so again, and if they have A.J. Brown, it's even a bigger plus because now they have to, you know, now they can just sit there and you know, he can just sit back and concentrate, and they can all eat. If this offense becomes, you know, and we haven't talked about Dallas Goedert yet.
Now we're going to talk about that because we're going to move on to the next picks because it's going to talk about Dallas Goedert and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But so just my last tin hat comments before we move on to the other draft picks. So part of me wonders if the Patriots, I know the Lomu pick because the Eagles won them, and it was kind of like a deal, like a backdoor handshake. We're going to trade with you, but we're not going to do it until post June 1st. But I wonder, the reason I lean more toward the Patriots, not because of all the news that's been the Patriots, Mike, I think, and Nooms asked about leverage just a few moments ago, right? And the only reason I wouldn't want to trade with the Rams right now is the last thing is I want to make an NFC team stronger, you know, and all that stuff. But I wonder with the whole Diana Rossini and the Mike Vrabel situation, that do the Patriots overpay for A.J. Brown as kind of a compensation for all the BS, like a quiet, like, settlement? You know what I mean? Like, listen, we're going to overpay. We'll give you a Lomu. We'll give you a first-round pick next year and maybe a third-round pick in 2027.
Now, if they were willing to do that,
hold on 1 second. And the other reason I asked that is because I know Rob said earlier, just a moment ago, that we're not getting a first-round pick. You have to do well. Like, the Eagles don't – it doesn't hurt the Eagles to keep AJ too much unless he decides to be a curmudgeon. But it does, you know – it doesn't hurt for them to keep him. So it's a win-win for the Eagles. And the other scenario is, why would you want to not give up that for him? Because there's not as good running or wide receivers have gotten more for him than him this year. You know, his contract, we're going to still be eating a lot of contract. The post June 1st designation just allows us to spread it over 2 years instead of eating it all in 1 year. And I think this gives them this is where the leverage really comes in. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. And like I said, they don't have to trade A.J. Brown. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. Like, A.J. could, you know, he could come in and see this new offense and be like, okay, this is a fresher breath air. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what he's actually feeling. You know what I mean? And you never know. He may turn around and come in, and Sean Mannion may sit down and go, dude, look, listen, I'm going to spread the ball around, but there's going to be enough for everybody to eat. You know what I mean? I think the one guy who might have to take a back seat, but I think it would be helpful this year if they became a pass-first offense, would be Saquon Barkley. It would take a lot of bumps off of him.
He could catch the balls, you know,
right?
Running backs too. I mean,
right. Well, here's the thing too. Like,
having him help block with an aging, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
You're paying him a lot of money not to do his job, But at the same time, it's going to open. If their pass game becomes that good, their run game only becomes better.
It's better, right? Exactly. And another thing too is, Barkley's going to have some help now because they have Tank Dell also. So to me, I kind of like it, and it kind of opens up the middle of the field. If you got wide receivers that are cutting across the middle, okay, and taking, catching balls in the middle, like again, this is going to be a West Coast type offense where Jalen's 1, 2, 3 and out. Get it out, make the read, throw it. So everybody eats. Oh, he has arisen.
Well, by the way, since he is there, I would be remiss if I didn't wish him a belated
happy birthday. Happy
birthday, because he was hatched or built in some sort of weird mad scientist lab. Matty B, 127 years young. Oh yes, Homerland, the place where everyone eats and AJ Brown is happy and everyone is getting there. It's a truly special place.
If and buts. I mean, the more likelihood of him being
AJ's not happy. AJ hasn't been happy in 2 years. The last thing he's going to be is happy with more. Let's be honest before we move on to the next part of the conversation. Let's just be completely honest. He's been wanting out for a while, and he is. I'm
sorry, I meant to say Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Yes, Matty B is here. He has arisen. I just think he wants out, and he's a diva. He got his Super Bowl ring, right? He got his Super Bowl ring. He's happy with that. Now it's all about me. And you know what? If that's the way it is going to be with AJ, and I'm not trying to soil him on the way out the door, but it's kind of listen. The writing's on the wall. It's right there. In a perfect world, kind of like what Matty B's talking about, if this was a robot where you can flip a switch on him and he's just going to be happy, and you have to worry about happiness. Robots, you don't have to worry about happiness. If you tell them to do a job, they do a job, right? But unfortunately, when you're dealing with the human nature and human beings, you don't have that luxury. And he needs to go. And get him why he's hot. Like he's still hot. He still has value. We have now Mekhi Lemon. We have a very stacked wide receiver room. Now, are any of them AJ Brown?
No.
But when you don't need, I don't say you don't need. Let me rephrase that. You can probably get away with not having AJ Brown if Mekhi Lemon truly could play to the potential that we think he can play. We giving Devontae Smith the wide receiver one. I know there's been a lot of hate on social media saying that Devontae Smith is not a WR1. I disagree with that totally. He has he could not get a pass for 3 games in a row and he would be happy as long as they're winning. Like he's anti AJ Brown from that standpoint. But he's more sure hands. I think he can be a wide receiver one. Is he AJ Brown? No, but we've always said we had one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL.
It's funny. It's funny a lot. Yeah, it's funny too because everybody's always said that we didn't have a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. We had 2 ones. It was 1A and 1B. Mm-hmm. So now with them potentially moving on from AJ Brown, Devontae's going to have to show that he can be a number 1, and I think he can be.
I think so. I think he has the mentality to lead too. Like I'm not saying AJ. Like a lot of people kind of go back and forth on the AJ Brown being able to be a good leader. He wore the C on his chest the whole 9 yards, and I think he can lead AJ Brown. But I also think he has his problems. There is a problem in leadership from him because of he just can't help himself. You know what I mean? He cannot not. He cannot not make things about himself. Like you said, they're winning, yet he was still complaining he wasn't getting enough touches. And then he was getting enough touches, and Noom's next comment kind of plays into what I'm talking about here. The problem was after AJ and Smitty. So are you Nooms? You trying to say when Smitty came along and listen, Smitty got his contract. What was the first thing they did as soon as they signed Smitty's contract?
They upped AJ Brown.
The ink didn't even dry when Smitty was crossing his 2 T's.
And here's the thing: I think what Nooms is trying to say is it's the wide receivers behind AJ and Smitty. There was a lack of production from those guys. I actually thought when he went and got Jahan Dotson, I thought that was a great pickup for them because I seen John Dotson play 4 years at Penn State. I seen what he could do, but he never developed that chemistry with Hurts.
But
And that's
is that AJ Brown more than, again, if you're trying to force to make somebody else happy, and credit to Howie and the team to see the bigger picture, because sometimes when you have a talent of AJ Brown's caliber, it's hard to see the forest through the trees, and sometimes it's hard for you to rip that Band-Aid off, right? That he's too good of a talent to let go, and I disagree, and I don't disagree with that. But sometimes if the talent is becoming a problem in other ways, where the problems and the talent start to outweigh each other a little bit, fine. And then I think AJ or Smitty can be a number one, and I think if AJ Brown wasn't AJ Brown and all the BS going on, forcing the ball to AJ Brown wasn't happening, could Jahad Dotson been a better chemistry with Jalen Hurts? It's hard to build chemistry when there's a variable in between that's blocking that chemistry.
right. Again, we'll have to wait and see really what kind of what's going on here. But if it does, I'm looking at it post June 1st. You know, if they get, if AJ is gone, again, I'm expecting them to get back at least a first round pick for him for next year. And I'll tell you what, we haven't really. Let's kind of get into really, with Mekhi Lemon, he's going to be your slot receiver because Devontae Wicks is an outside guy. So is Devontae Smith. Elijah, Hollywood Brown, you can line up as your other slot guy. Okay, you can really, really, go and look at it from that standpoint. But I feel like I said to you earlier, this now falls back on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to be a better quarterback. They are giving him, they're giving him the keys again to another. I know it's another offense he's got to learn. I get it. But and I agree to Maddie's point right here. He's got to read. He's got to read this offense. You have to be able to throw the ball down the middle. Again, he's going to have targets. He's going to have guys like Lemon. He's going to have guys like Hollywood Brown. He's going to have Dallas Goedert. This kid, Eli Stowers, is a beast. I thought he was the best tight end in the draft. Okay. They are going to do that. So he does not have, there's no excuses for them. This is why I think they hold on to a guy like Tanner McKee. Because is it safe to say that, if it's proven that Jalen can't run this offense, if he can't run this offense, I truly believe that they will move on from him.
Well, I like kind of like I said about the AJ situation. I have to give, and maybe even Matty B might have to swallow a little bit of pride and give them some credit because the Eagles have not said it out loud, but they also have not disputed any of the conversation that I want to say he's on the hot seat for this year or something like that. But they're not extending him. They could have extended him this year and smoothed out the payroll and made some cap space and all that stuff. And they could still do it next year. Don't get me wrong. But my point is, they are not. Nobody's safe with Howie Roseman in my eyes. If you are good, but you're not good enough, they're not going to sit there and try to force a square peg into a round hole. And they've been showing that. The AJ Brown thing has been kind of what makes me feel that way. And I think, if Jalen Hurts gets criticism, sometimes over too much, but there's times it's deserved. And we're going to find out this year if AJ Brown or if Jalen Hurts, if it's more him or if it's more, something else.
Yeah. To me, like I said, he's got to show now that he can grow. And Matty points this out, like he has to start seeing the field better. Okay. Like I get it. You've had a different coordinator every year, but
also the O-line was atrocious last year, which is something that he has not had to worry about since he's been a Philadelphia Eagle. And
the O-line was bad.
I'm not making excuses for him, but it's really hard to judge him off of last year solely. But last year was a conundrum with the Eagles in a lot of different ways, and part of my conundrums with Jalen was not just that, but also his inability to run or unwillingness to run, or was it the organization saying don't run, whatever it was. That there are some things that need to get cleaned up, because that does take a very large piece of the game away if there's no threat of Jalen Hurts running.
No, but like I said, to me he has to. To me, he's got to read defenses better. I mean, that showed so much last year where, you saw it in his turnovers. Again, was there bad offensive line play? Yes. But, he has the tools to extend plays. Okay. So for me, I'm not okay. So the line wasn't as good. Okay. But he also had the decision to take off and not take off. If you're going to be a pocket passer, then you got to put the time and effort in to start looking at the defenses, not being scared to throw the ball over the middle, which he is. Unless it's a post, that's the only time you see the ball go down the middle with Jalen Hurts. If it's a post, that's it, a deep post. Other than that, inside 20 yards, he's not throwing the ball. Everybody, you saw it at the last play. He threw it to the inside guy doing the 4 verticals at the end of the game. Again, he's got to get better in there. So all I can say is I know one thing with the West Coast offense is your feet and your timing, which is 3 steps, get the ball out. If Jalen can actually, work that to where he can take 3 steps, take a 3-step drop, trust his progression and trust what he's seeing, and not be mindful about, I can't throw the ball over the middle of the field. Sometimes you got to fit it in a tight window to start trusting your wide receivers. That's, to me, honestly, too, I felt like Jalen only trusted Schmitty and AJ.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, so again, he's going to have to really.
Well, did he only trust Schmitty and AJ? Sure, maybe, but did he also, again, is this more the AJ Brown situation on top of it? Like, were they trying, what was Nick Sirianni trying to appease AJ to keep things going? Is that why he took over on the run game, to get away from to control the run so they can throw more often? I mean, there's a lot of
questions. There's a lot of questions
that should be answered coming into this season now, especially with Mannion taking. Here's a little something that broke about during the middle of the show here. I just want to point out, it's a funny little thing. The Phillies have invited DeCane Williams to the rookie minicamp, who is the son of Mitch Wild Thing Williams. So just a little piece of interesting information. Anthony DeBona tweeted that about an hour ago. I just kind of pulled it up on my screen here. But we talked a lot about Lemon. We got into the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. We sucked into the black hole known as that conversation, as always. But Eli Stowers,
I'm going to be honest with you. If he's not the best tight end, he's 1A or 1B, whatever, how you want to look at it. He is Dallas Goedert, but younger. I watched quite a few Vandy games this year. They were kind of like my little dark horse that I fell in love with this year. So I did try to scan around and watch most of their games. And I'll tell you what, he made Diego Pavilion look really good on a lot of his throws. This kid's got really good. He's going to be a red zone threat. Like if you're really looking at it right now, the Eagles have a lot of red zone options this year. Okay. A lot of red zone options. And I'm just talking about just the tight ends. You got this kid, Stowers. You have, of course, Dallas Goedert, who's the ultimate. But don't forget, dude, Johnny Munt can catch the ball out the backfield too. Johnny Munt, is someone you can look down around the goal line. The dude made a living in Minnesota at catching these little 5 and 10 yard passes, and getting in the end zone. So you have those. Again, if they do decide, I don't think Calcaterra makes the team this year unless he's willing to just play special teams. I think his time with the Eagles is up. But again, if you're looking at the wide receivers, I mean, if you're looking at it like Elijah Moore's a tall wide receiver, you can use him inside. You can use him inside the red zone. He could be a red zone threat. Elijah Moore. I to be honest with you, I like some of the guys that they went out and got, but to me, this kid he's out of all the draft picks, I think the first two are going to be able to just step in and contribute right away. With Lemon and Stowers, I think Stowers can be, you get that kid on the field, man. Whew. And even like stop and think about something, man. Without even thinking, Johnny Wilson's coming back this year too. You can literally do a set where you can line up Johnny Wilson, Dallas Goedert, Eli Stowers, right, and Johnny Munt. You can go 4 tight ends, and really kind of.
Well, they like the 12-man personnel. Sean Mannion that definitely does get put into a little bit more into his.
Well, just look what he had in Green Bay. Look what he had in Green Bay. He had was it the guy who got hurt last year? Their starting tight end.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, I forget.
They had him, but they also had Luke Musgrave too.
Musgrave.
They had Musgrave and I can't remember the kid's name that got hurt. But Nooms, I'm going to get into that with you because that kid is not a whiff. And that's our number 3 draft pick. He's down the bottom there, man. That bottom comment.
Mark. No, that's kind of what that's number 3. Yeah. Let's just talk about him for a second. He played for Miami. He's 6'9.25". Okay, he's almost 6'10". He's 346 pounds. He's got 36 3/8 arm length. He's got some palms that are 9 inches long. Like he's got intangible. He's athletic. He's been the kind of cuts against him a little bit after as soon as they drafted him. Of course, I'm looking past him. Speedy edge guys who kind of come off the edge bend. He's kind of harder for him to match up with. They can kind of beat him a little bit. He's got to work blocking his back foot a little bit in the pass blocking. But yeah, run blocking is where he big guys tend to lurch. It's a big thing with big men. And that's kind of what could hurt him a little bit. But I can't call him a whiff to me. I mean, got him in you got him in what was it? Pick what?
Third round.
68, right?
68, yeah.
So it wasn't like anything crazy in my eyes. And he's a big boy. They like that big man. And maybe he's not an offensive tackle. Maybe he's a guard. He's a 6'9" guard. I mean, that might be tough, make a guy that big. Guard, but
I seen his. Listen, the guy he didn't give up a sack. Like he has not given up a sack.
No,
at all. Like, and that's hard to do, especially in college, and especially they play teams like Clemson. Clemson. I think both of their starting edges went yesterday or went in this draft. So it's not like he can work on his footing, man. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Tyler Steen has not lived up to the hype with me. And if you take this kid and put him in, he can run.
They also need depth on the O-line. So I disagree with it. It's hard. I hate this whiff stuff. It's really hard to say anybody's a whiff in the 3rd, 4th round, even into the 5th round a little bit. We've seen guys who've come out of nowhere. I mean, you always use the Tom Brady scenario. Jason
I'll tell you what,
6th round
right.
pick.
I like the kid we got from Georgia, Michael Morris. I like him too. I liked everybody except for the Cole Payton. I did the Cole Payton one to me.
Well, we're going to talk about that in about 2 seconds, but he ain't good on the props from what I can see. He ain't good enough for the pros. I'm sorry. I'm looking at a different screen. If you didn't know, what's it called? StreamYard. You can put I can keep the chat in a different window. And it's actually kind of nice because when you flip back and forth to control the media, it's a little harder. But this I'm reading off that. But yeah, pros. Him trying to see over. Yeah, putting him at guard. This is why I kind of rechanged my tune. Trying to see over a 6'9" guy might be difficult.
He was able to see over a 6'8" guy in Mekhi Becton. So what's an inch?
If you ask the right people, it's a lot, sir. It's a lot, sir. Okay,
Jesus God.
Sir, it means a lot.
Oh boy.
Not all of us are blessed like Mike Lara over here. No wonder why his wife's mad, because he's on this screen right now with us instead of with her. They said the same stuff about Holland Pierce. Yeah, listen, I get it. I get it. I'm not ready to call anybody. You can't call anybody a bust or anything in the draft until it happens. The Eagles draft an O lineman. Yeah, they draft two.
Yeah,
they drafted him, and then
I'll guard
pick Micah Morris. We'll talk about that in a second. But the next one is the one that you do not like.
No, I don't. He looks like the hefty lefty to me. He reminds me of Jarrett Lorenz. Like, I'm sorry. And he only started 1 year. Like this right now, like this,
it sounds like somebody we know. It really has a lot of. It's so funny with how things began and ended with Carson Wentz. It's like Carson Wentz, but we're not going to go up in the first round and get him Carson Wentz. We're just going to take him in a later round Carson Wentz, because he just has a lot of the Carson Wentz. The build, the speed. He
got the red hair. He's got the red hair like Wentz. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, like, it's very, you can't not make the comparison to Carson Wentz. But again, I know how Carson Wentz ended, but you cannot tell me that Carson Wentz didn't help.
It was a fun ride with Wentz.
Yeah, he was just a head case.
And here's the thing, like this kid here, like, listen, he may turn out to be, he could be a Steve Young. I don't know, but to me, that's a wasted draft pick. Going up and getting him.
Is he? If say for instance, they got to move on from Tanner, because here's my reason is, and I don't want them to, unless they are really. Unless in the back of the mind of Howie Roseman and his group and staff is, this is a make or break year. They're never going to say it out loud, but unless they say that in the back of their mind, this is a make or break year for Jalen Hurts, then they should move on from Tanner. You can't afford him. You're already paying the Red Rifle, or whatever his nickname is. What was it? Couple million.
Damn. I forgot all about Andy Dalton being on our team. I forgot all about him.
You're paying him $2 million or whatever it is. I don't know if it's exactly two, but whatever.
Listen, but that's just for this year. I think he's a free agent at the end of the year.
So are you going to carry? I mean, not that Cole couldn't go down to the what's it called, practice squad, but are you going to carry Tanner and him and Andy Dalton?
Well, I mean, I would think so, because they didn't get what they wanted for him. So it's better to keep Tanner behind on here. Like I said, man, like this, I feel like Dalton's more of an insurance policy if Jalen gets hurt. If he gets hurt, then, McKee's going to be your backup. I think Andy Dalton's going to be a 3 here. You know what I mean? He's at that stage of his career where he doesn't mind. Plus, he can mentor too. I think that's another reason why they brought him in. He can help mentor Hurts, I think, on maybe this offense, because maybe he was a part of this offense at one point in time, maybe somewhere down the line. I don't know, but he's a veteran quarterback. He could probably help Jalen out a little bit.
Sure.
And maybe he can get him to start, like, maybe he can point out stuff that Jalen isn't saying and really kind of being that leader to help him out.
Who was the backup quarterback we had when Carson Wentz went down in Seattle?
Josh.
Josh. The hell's his name? I can't remember his name, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, now he's a coach. I mean, are you?
Yeah, I think he's with Seattle, right? I think he's with Seattle.
Yeah, like, are they trying to turn him into that type of scenario?
Maybe. Yeah, that's the dude. Oh man, I can't remember. It's Josh something. I was about to say McDaniel.
I'm sure the chat will have it in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Noom's saying Cole Payton looks like corn-fed Omaha. I mean, he's 6'3", he's 234 pounds. He's
a fullback.
He can run. He can throw the ball. I mean, he is right now, as far as he's a poor man's Carson Wentz.
Josh
McDaniel, or a more affordable Carson Wentz. He's Timu Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
Josh McCown. Yeah, thank you. I knew News would have it.
Listen, that dude won my heart that day when he I always have a special place for that dude because he tore his hamstring off the bone and stayed in that game and played. And he just came up a little short.
Yeah. Well, next draft pick, number 207, 6th round, offensive guard from Georgia, another bulldog in within the locker room now. And we'll talk about the other Micah for a second because he kind of made a fool of himself the other day after the draft.
He's stupid.
Yeah, Micah Morris joins the Philadelphia Eagles. Micah is 22 years old. He's 6'4", so he's a little shorter. So guard spot, that would be it. He's a big boy. He is a big boy, and he's a bulldog. He's raw, so I don't know. He's probably definitely more of a camp / backup guy at this point, but he has the tools. He's some plays have 6'5". He's 334 pounds. He had a 5.09 40-yard dash, a vertical 29.5 broad jump. I mean, for a guy his size, that's pretty good. He has
146 pounds. He ran a 5-something 40.
Yep.
Jesus, Mary and Ralph.
They like those. Listen, the Eagles, even before Sean Mannion, and for a very long time, like to pull the guard. It's one of the biggest things. We didn't see a lot this year, which would help Jalen get a chance to get a throw off and all that stuff if there's injuries. I don't hate this 6th-round pick. If you can work with him. Now, it's not Jeff Stoutland, and I'm going to always fall back to that. I'm going to fall back to that a lot. I'm just saying it's not Jeff Stoutland. That's all I got to say. So we got to see if they can develop these guys that they couldn't do before.
Well, I mean, just because Stout's not in the building doesn't mean it can't be run the way Stout ran it. You know what I mean? It's just
he is in the building. He's just not coaching,
right? So
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if things go awry on the line quickly that they send him down as an advisor or something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised. Number 7, they traded. And they went from having no 7th-round picks and got 3 7th-round picks. One of them was for what was the Mackay Lemon trade. But they had 3 7th-round picks. The first one they picked at 244 overall. They finally went defense. They only went defense in the 7th round. So 3 defensive players all came in the 7th round. Texas Tech Cole Wisniewski. Big dude, 6'4", 220 pounds. I guess they're going to add him to the exciting whites if he does make the field, because safety has been a question, but not really answered much in the draft, where people really thought it would be answered more in the first few rounds. If you said, Al, what do you think? I said top 3, definitely 4, but they waited to the 7th round. What are your thoughts on Cole Wisniewski?
I like him. He's limited in coverage, but he's somebody that you could throw down around the line of scrimmage. He's very good against the run. If you need him to play, like if you're doing like a cover 4 or cover 2 or whatever, he could be that underneath guy. Mm-hmm. Like say shadowing a tight end or a back coming out of the backfield, he can shadow. But his main thing is he's a sticker, man. He's a guy that's a heat-seeking missile, but with smarts. That's if you're going to equate him to. Like he has the same physical attributes as a Sidney Brown, but he plays smarter, not as many penalties. So I like the pick, and I think they kind of got him at a value.
They got him at a value because of injuries. He missed 2022 for Achilles injury and all of 2024. He missed time in 2022, but he missed all of 2024 because of foot surgery. Part of that's the reason he fell back into the.
No, yeah, I mean, if he would have been healthy, he would have been a mid-round pick. I'm talking like 3rd, 4th round.
He's also for the position, the wingspan is a big part.
Yes, and he's got good hands. He's got good hands. His speed's the only
his burst, his speed burst. So if the right matchup can expose him a little bit. So I don't think he's going to be. I mean, unless he just balls out, I don't see him being, the number 1 guy. But they need more depth in there, because what you're running right now just isn't enough. Mm-hmm. Maddie's saying it will be a great gunner on special.
I disagree with Maddie. I seen him play, and the kid, he's not that bad. I'm telling you, he's the reason he fell to the 7th round was because he was out all of last year, but the year before that, the kid was all over the place. And if he would have came out as a junior, he would have went 3rd round. He would have been top 100 pick. He's not. He's a decent player. The only knock on him is as far as one-on-one speed. Like he can't go one-on-one with a back. A tight end he could probably stick with. That's the only knock on Cole. But around the line of scrimmage, you try running the ball at that guy, dude. He's a heat-seeking missile. Like I said, he's Sidney Brown, but with more smarts.
Well, is he kind of the guy, the hybrid with Wisniewski and all that? Is he the kind of hybrid, like going to jump up in the linebacker position?
Yeah. And he would be a guy that, if you move him up to the line of scrimmage, he could come in. He could be your blitzing guy. Like I feel like out of the 3 7th-round picks, the Eagles got 2 really good players there that because of injury, they fell to where they were.
But we got 2 more. They have back-to-back picks, 251 and 252. 251 was UR Bernard.
Yeah, it's Pat's cousin.
Yes, yeah, definitely. From Nigeria.
Yes.
UR Bernard. It's another kind of Jordan Mailata scenario. Yeah. A freak of nature type human being. 6'4", 306 pounds. 4.63, 40.
4.6,
39-inch vertical. I mean, he can jump.
Now, that's somebody you just going to hand him over to Coach Clinton. Say,
yeah,
teach 6% him.
6% body fat too.
I mean.
The funny thing is they were making fun of him. They said they're not fun of him, but they kind of said they're showing his videos on the broadcast before they even he was kind of talked about before even the day 3 started. Like somebody could take him in the late 7th round pick, and he's a project kind of guy. And it took 3 years for Mailata even sniff the field, I believe. Mm-hmm. But they were showing him like bench press, like just like it was so effortlessly. Like they said, you could almost like somebody's on the other side off screen pulling the thing up for him to make it look easy. But then they show you the other angle where there is nobody there, and he's just a freak of nature who could be a good defensive end.
This is somebody like, no offense, man, but the Eagles sometimes, it's very rare. Like they struck gold with Mailata. Now they're trying to go back to that well to see if maybe they can strike gold with this kid. Just his measures and him being a freak. They want to put him at defensive tackle. Like, they could really get something out of this kid. He's going to be a project. So guess what? Let him learn the game. Let him Coach Clint coach him up. You know what I mean?
What can you do with him? Like put him off to the side, let him work with some of the coaches, teach him the basics. You know how they found him. So the NFL has been sending they have representatives, former players, technically usually, where they go out to other countries and look at athletes in those areas. So Osi Umenora is the one who found him when he was in Nigeria, and discovered him. So they said you should try to go into the draft, and they use it was called the International Player Pathway. That's what the IPP is. So he is a freak. I mean, he is an absolute freak. He earned the rare.
He may turn into nothing, but you know what? Everybody's got to have a project, and if this kid turns
out, that's what 7th round picks. I would prefer a 7th round pick to be a project than a guy that's just all right. We have a 7th round pick. Let's see what we can do with him. Do we get lucky with this or not? I mean, it's all the same thing. And this one, you could take a little bit more time with him. And here's the thing: is he got a 10.0 RAS score, relative athletic score, which does not happen very often. So. Now his inexperience will play a bit, but the last, but not least, was Keyshawn James Newby, Edge, New Mexico, came right after UR Bernard. Tell me about him, Mike. What are your feelings on Keyshawn
James Newby?
Yeah.
He's solid. He's a solid edge rusher. Again, He's been productive where he's been. He was at Montana State, and then he went to Idaho, and then went to New Mexico. He's definitely undersized. He's an undersized guy.
6'2", 244 pounds.
Right. So if he goes against somebody who's got length and power, they kind of give him trouble. But again, this is why he's a 7th round pick. I actually like this with him because, yes, we don't. I mean, other than Nolan Smith, this kid could actually help out. I think. I think he could. He's going to take some time, and it might take him maybe a half a year or whatever. He might get some spot snaps here or there if they dress him. But
here's the thing: he's a guy that climbed the portal in a sense. I mean, he started at Montana Tech, went to Idaho, and ended up in New Mexico in the FBS. I mean, overall in those areas, he has 37.5 sacks. So, again, those first two aren't really going to, even New Mexico isn't going to move the needle as much, but he has.
Well, New Mexico actually had a pretty good team this year.
Yeah. So he has a lot of plus attributes in some ways.
Yeah,
but,
he flashes. He has a good get off. He's smart with angles.
They call it the stab move is the term they'll use a lot.
He said efficient cornering that keeps him tight to the pocket as a rusher. He said, now his rush lacks diversity, which is okay. You would imagine that because that's why he's a 7th round pick. If he had more of a diverse game, he would have definitely been up. He said, but he has a dangerous stab move is waiting to be unlocked. That's what it's saying. He goes, he's a high motor, disruptive ability should make him a solid sub-package edge rusher. So that's basically saying, hey, you could use him. He's a guy that he'll be a third down, 4th down specialist, until he develops more of his game.
Yeah. And so that is the draft pick. So I'm going to kind of run through the list real quick. I don't know many of these guys or any of these guys, to be completely honest with you. I looked up, of course, the one lineman they picked up. He's an Alabama guy. They actually got 2 Alabama guys out of the deal. A Florida guy, another IPP guy, as well as Washington State and Ole Miss. So in order, they had Jaden Roberts, offensive lineman from Alabama, Deontay Lawson, linebacker from Alabama, Daquan Wright, tight end, Ole Miss, Rocco Underwood, long snapper from Florida, Tucker Large, Large, D-back from Washington State, and Josh Wuru is the edge rusher from the IPP from Kenya.
Okay. So they're camp bodies.
Definitely camp bodies. I mean, Jaden Roberts, from when I researched him, I mean, his overall grade is going to say he's 6'5.25". He's 330 pounds, 33 and 3/8 inch of arms. I mean, he's a middle guy, probably a backup swing guy. They just have him as offensive lineman. He was a guard in Alabama, but footwork's a thing. Below average body control, ends up on the grass way more than he should. Takes quick losses when rushers counter his lunging. So he's a project guy. I couldn't tell you the last time I had an O lineman. We always talk about Tank as a defensive lineman that, you can always find a diamond in the rough. And I think this is where Howie does shine a little bit in the late round in the undrafted free agency. Always, even when we had the moments we didn't love Howie for some of his drafting ideas, he always was able to find a good diamond in the rough in that sense. But again, Joshua Wuru, he was another one they were talking about from the IPP. I don't know much about him at all. But he's 6'4", 244 pounds, runs a 4.45. He's from Kenya. He's and he went to the IPP. I mean, there's not much to write home about him, except he could be he has no prior experience. He could be another project, but maybe not a long project.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't cost them much to sign guys like that. But again, not much to talk about there. Just guys, just remind you, here's the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Here's the upcoming week. Plenty of Phillies post-game shows. They play the Giants starting on Tuesday through Thursday. And then, of course, they go to Miami over the weekend for a 4-game series into the weird 4-game series that ends up on a Monday. So plenty going on, plus Flyers post-game. Hopefully only one this week because they would have 6 days off, something like that at least.
Yeah.
If they win on Monday, 6 days off. Of course, plenty of Gridiron Weekly, Pittsburgh Sports Desk, final word with Matty B. And of course, everybody's favorite, like the top show on the network, Philly AM with Alan Mike. So top show. I'm just going to say it right now. According to the metrics. I'm just going by the metrics here.
So yeah, I got Flyers post game Monday. So hopefully we wrap it up on that, and then I'm actually following you. I'm on Wednesday night here for Phillies and Giants.
Following me on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think you're Tuesday, right? On that.
Oh, you mean following Tuesday to Wednesday? I thought you meant like right after. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing?
No,
you scared me.
No.
Wait a minute, hold on. Noom's talking Sixers for a second. VJ Max George will need to be on maximum defensive duty today. I love that there's no Sixers post game on this channel. Well, we're not going to get into that.
Come on, Nooms, I got enough to do on my plate.
Yeah, I know. If you ever noticed, from the Philly side of things, there's 3 of us, pal. My wife is contemplating divorce again already for a guy who's supposed to be doing this part-time. Yeah, and could you imagine right now, Flyers and Sixers post-game duties, plus on top of...
Dude, I already got my wife throwing stuff at me this morning. You wanted her to start throwing knives next?
That's foreplay.
That's foreplay? That's great.
Yes. But, Sixers do play today. What time's that game? I don't even know. I have to look at that one.
Probably 12:30.
Something like that. Some weird 3 o'clock game. But Phillies. Let's talk Phillies for a second. Swing around. I know we talked about it in the beginning. Phillies did this weird thing called winning.
They got off the schneid last night.
10-game losing streak, broke it last night. Zach Wheeler returns to the mound, had a decent game. I wouldn't say he went 5 innings, which probably should have been where he was at, get him into it. But I mean, held his own, only let up 2 earned runs against a really good Braves team right now. If it wasn't for Tanner Banks doing what the game was following the same suits that we had. They get up early, 2 runs, then they tie the game quickly right after. And then they go back and forth 3 to 4, and that's tied to 4 all the way into the 10th inning. And then the Phillies decide to wake up and score 4 runs against against the Braves bullpen, and we're able to hold on for the win. Does it move the needle for Mike Laro? If they win, let me ask this question, and I'll ask the chat this too. If they win today, and they win the series against the Braves, get off the schneid, win 2 in a row, does this move the needle, or is Topper fired come Monday?
No. I never thought he would be fired after this road trip anyway.
Really?
No. Even if they lost. I mean, yeah, it's still I'm going to continue to say it. I know Maddie doesn't want to hear it. You probably don't, but it's still early in the season. Like, you're talking, what? They got 26 games.
Early, but I got to push back where it comes into this, because there's one thing to be, not doing great.
They're playing bad baseball. I get it.
All around.
I get it. All around bad baseball. Like, I'm talking Bad News Bears, single A. They're getting their ass kicked and getting their ass handed to them. I get it. But, I also have seen this team, like, again, you want to talk about familiarity? Like, this team has a run like this every year. Every year since 2022, they've had this same exact rut. They've had it, and they've always come back from it. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. To me, I feel like they've earned that. I feel like they've earned that. Now, Maddie may not agree. You may not agree with me. But, again, we've seen them lose 10 in a row. We've seen them go 2 weeks with scoring, 5 under 6 runs in the whole week. We've seen them do it. This comment I don't get. Mrs. Laro, leave the guy to set up the future Mr. Beast incoming stream.
Well, Michael, listen, News. Mike's older and doesn't have kids. I wouldn't probably know this comment that much if I didn't have children. Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber of all time and makes a ton of money. He's a guy like, we have a car. We're going to put it inside a box and we're going to let you drop shit on it. And if you don't destroy it, you get to keep this Lamborghini. Like, He's that.
Oh, so he just does dumb. He's got money and does dumb shit.
Oh, he's got money, Mr. Beast bars. He's got money, dude. He's one of the richest dudes out there, based on just starting a YouTube channel, and it's not just from YouTube anymore. So yeah,
but
if you have Mr. Beast money, Mrs. Laura would be massaging you every live stream, not throwing stuff at you.
Yes, exactly. He says I disagree with this. Like, again, teams go through ruts. Okay, I'm still cue me in, but what team went 162-0? I'll wait. Like, what team doesn't go through a bad period of baseball? The best teams in baseball go through it. Again, do the Phillies? They are what they are. They are what their record says they are. But they've also have a track record of also turning their seasons around. This happens to the Phillies every year. Since they've made the postseason, it has happened to the Phillies every year where they've had an extended losing streak. And they've turned it around. Now, if this was continuing and we got closer and closer to the All-Star break, then yeah, I would be like, dude, yeah. Like, so, we can't continue this into June.
Well, here's my thing is, and this is maybe going to change your mind if it nails this on the bed. Here is your lineup for today. It just came out about a minute ago. Turner 1, Schwarber 2, which we all know, Harper 3, Reyes at 4, Garcia at 5, Bohm at 6, Sosa at 4, Dylan Moore at 4, Sosa at 7, Dylan Moore at 8, and Marchand at 9 with Nola on the hump.
Getaway day.
Get away. You don't have a getaway. You don't get a getaway day after losing 10 straight games. I don't care you won one. Isn't like, oh, we won one. We can, take it.
Hey, look, that's a getaway day lineup if I've ever seen one. So, yeah. Okay. So, you'll be.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Nooms, at all. You listen, Mike, not just the payroll. Take the payroll out of it. As a organization, when you go through a skid like it's not just a 10 game skid. Mm-hmm. It is a pretty much season skid. They've won games despite some of this. That the pitching, which the bullpen was supposed to be really good, it looks really bad. The starting pitching has been somewhat questionable. The two guys who got raises have not been living up to the raise yet. We just got Zach Wheeler back. Bryce Harper is having some moments. He came in clutch twice yesterday when well needed, and scoring runs where runs were needed when they couldn't have. But there hasn't been a game, except for that 13-win game, that it just felt like, everything was clicking. The bats were clicking for the most part. I mean, they still only had three for 12 yesterday with runners in scoring position, despite the win. Yes, and I know the Flyers lost and won 10 games in a row this season. And let's devil's advocate for a moment. Say they erase the 10-game winning streak with a 10-game or losing streak with a 10-game winning streak. Mm-hmm. Right? And they get themselves to kind of a 500 mode at that point. Because that's where they would be. I think they go on 10-game winning streak. They're 8-19 or 9-18 or whatever it is. So they would be one game over 500 on a 10-game winning streak. And I just think this team they're lost. And you like Noom said, this payroll, you can't have that. That's number one. And again, take me for instance. I am not usually blaming coaches. Like when Matty B doesn't want to blame referees for doing any wrong. Mm-hmm. I usually try not to blame the coaches too much, but there is a moment where management, when everything's not clicking, it's not just the bats, so you can't fire you can, but you can't just fire a hitting coach, or it's not just the pitching, you just fire the pitching coach. It's everything. And it's been going on for a while. It's just really, really, really bad right now. At one point, you have to say the only change that's going to make any jolt, and look, it worked out for one game for Boston. They won 17-1 yesterday after firing their coach. Again, I'm not looking into that point, but honestly, if I'm Tom, maybe I'm stepping down, or at least giving him the option. We're going to let you go, but we'll let you step down if you want to.
It's the
only change that'll make a difference. You can't fire Dombrowski right now and make a difference. Really?
You know, Mikey P will be running through the streets of upstate New York if that happens. You know,
listen, I've been pushed. I've pushed back on Mike. Mike was on the show on Friday night. He called in. I had 3 call-ins in a row. Thanks to those guys. Like that's the most I've ever had in one show. Just 3 people waiting online to call in. But I talked to Mike, who was one of the first ones I talked to, if not the first one, and he would say to me, "Hey, I've been saying this bum needs to get fired since 2022." I disagree with that. Maybe 24 and 25, but not 22 and 23. The guy was on fire. Nobody thought ill of him at that moment in time.
Only him and Matty B.
Yeah,
only him and Matty B.
Listen, it's easier to be wrong about winning than it is losing. Like that's always what I tell. This whole Alex Carrera thing, he just got fired. Why does everybody want him so bad? Like what am I missing here? He got fired for almost the same problem. He's like 1 game better, 2 games better than the Phillies are at in a win column. Why do we want Alex Carrera so bad?
Because it's somebody different. That's all.
Well, I mean, what's the difference putting Don Mattingly in and waiting to the season to Rob, thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks, Rob.
Always. Well, what's the difference at this point? I mean, but
it's not. It's not. Like I would rather have.
You're not firing. You're telling me you're not firing Rob Thompson at all Monday, no matter what.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
Not with this lineup. Not with the way this team is playing.
Again, you're right about everything that you're saying. They're just not going to fire a guy this early into the season. Like I understand Boston did it. I understand Boston did it, but you know. I just don't see this upper regime doing this. I really don't see it. I don't see them doing that. I would be shocked if they fired Rob Thompson before May 1st. I would be shocked, or give him the opportunity to step in.
I always ask this question: who goes first, AJ, because that's June 1st, most likely, or Rob?
Rob will go first. I mean, I said, May 1st, yeah, I can still see Rob coaching this team. By May 15th, no, I don't see Rob coaching this team by May 15th. And you're talking about a 2-week window here. So, the Phillies, they dug themselves into this hole. They got to dig themselves out. And, it's the longest losing streak since 99. But there's been some 8-game losing streaks within, these past 4 years, 5 years now. Mm-hmm. So there's been, pretty damn close. And they were able to kind of turn it around. And you have to, this is who they wanted to ride with. You got to give them a chance to fight it out and try to get back to somewhat kind of normalcy with that, And again, I'm not a big fan of this lineup today because to me, that looks like you're just giving everybody and their mother off.
You have off on Monday. Why do you need a day off? Why would a team who has just been the epitome of schlack, whatever you want to call it, why do you think Sunday before a day off on Monday, after winning a game, after losing 10 in a row, would be a getaway day? Because if that doesn't mean you should be fired, what else should mean you should be fired?
Again, somewhere down the line, it's going to be, they're going to have to turn around, and it's going to come back on the players eventually. Now, it's going to cost Rob Thompson his job.
I get what you're saying, but you can't fire Bryce Harper. You can't fire Kyle Schwarber. You can't probably even trade. I mean, you might be able to trade them, but you're probably going to take a loss if you try trading either one of those because nobody's going to want to take them right now. But I mean, I think Schwarber looks like he did in 2022. He's hitting home runs, but he's batting a 149. Bryce Harper is looking okay, and maybe because he wants to sell, a little bit like jerseys and jerseys, they'll take them. But you can't fire a whole team. I mean, you can promote some guys and get rid of some other guys, but that's not going to help you. The only person you can fire that will make any difference today would be the manager.
Right. Yeah, you getting rid of the hitting coach isn't going to do nothing.
And
Getting rid of the
it's
pitching
Chris
coach.
Sales, by the way, Nooms. It's Chris Sales, which makes it a little even harder.
I don't know about that too. Like, sales been. Which sales are you getting? Are you going to get the sales that's going to, come in and dominate, or are you going to get the sales who's going to, like, come in and not dominate? Like, yeah, again, I hear you, and I understand. I can understand the outcry. All I'm saying is they have a proven track record of bouncing back, and you have to, even no matter how bleak it looks, you have to afford them the opportunity to bounce back with this group because this is what they ran back. So, I mean,
Listen, I'm not agreeing with you, but I get your point. I get your point, but the message has, and like I said, in my eyes, it's the message. The message hasn't been there for them to get, right? Like they just, in my eyes, like they just don't get it. They don't want to get it. Whatever it shall be, Mike, in that sense.
Listen,
but and that's the problem. Like if the message isn't getting across, and let me ask you a question. When Joe Girardi, and I'm going to ask Elephant, let me ask this question kind of two different ways. When he says when they hired Gabe Kapler, they had the right thought process, in my opinion, just miss which happens. Give you a second, Nooms, or Nooms, Elephant in the room, why I'm asking Mike the next question. What do you mean by that? What did you mean they had the right idea and they just missed? I want to know what you meant by that. But like I said, you the message is not getting across. Who delivers that message? That's how I look at it. Like, you're not supposed to shoot the messenger, but in this case, he's the only guy you really can put a bullet into, and where it makes a difference. And I don't like firing coach. I don't like firing anybody. I don't want anybody to lose their job. And Tomper, listen, it's really crazy because he was the quickest coach to 350 wins and yada 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 and all that stuff. But it's like anything. It's like reputation. You can have a really good reputation, but you can ruin it quickly with one bad move, and it's kind of what's going on.
I have a question too. What was it 2 years ago? He was contemplating retirement. After the season, and they kind of asked him to stick around. Do you think maybe he's getting tired?
But if that's the truth, then he should walk away. Like he should have been said, "Listen, guys, either before the season, if that was true, or when this started, like if there's there's going to be doubt in your mind when you're losing and everybody and their mother is on with a microphone or Instagram or not Instagram, any social media account is trying to fire your ass. And some people being really miserable about it. Don't get me wrong. I've only said fire, not bum or loser or anything like that. I'm just saying if you're the manager and everything's failing on all and a manager of anything, I'm talking a manager of any business or anything, it's on you at that point. It's always, heavy is the head that wears the crown, is the old saying. But if he has any doubts in his mind, he should walk away. Like at that point, and nobody would blame him. Like, listen, if he came out and said, there's something where there's a message and I'm the message deliverer and it's not being delivered appropriately or correctly, and this team's not getting, I'm not putting it on them. It's on me. I'm walking away. Like, not when you break up with somebody, the last thing you want to hear, it's me, not you. But maybe this is the time where that works.
I don't know. All I'm saying is, the Phillies have won the division the last 2 years. I think they've earned the right to try to fight out of this before they make a managerial change. Now, we can call for his head all we want, but with this payroll and with this team, they've earned the right. And I'm going to keep saying it. And I know Matty's not going to agree with me. He'll probably tear me to shreds and call me it's homer thinking. No, they are back-to-back defending division champions. They have a right to try to, exactly. They have a right to try to go and win and to get themselves out of it. They've earned that right to do that. They've been, other than the golden years of when they won a World Series, this has been the best other 5-year time in our history. Other than when they went between 20. So
the 80s,
again,
the 80s, they had a bit of a run too in the 80s, 80 to 83, 84.
Yeah.
They had some good runs there too. And that's what this team does. They go on runs and then they go on very deep
long droughts.
And that's the scary part about this, because if you break anything down with any of the way those ebbs and flows have gone for Philly's history, the one thing that's been consistent that makes this one different is that payroll that Nooms talked about earlier. That payroll is that large, that big. They never. A lot of times they went on these ebbs and flows because they weren't willing to pay guys. They were bringing up young guys who just weren't that guy that they Don Browns and all that stuff. And but to have a payroll, the only reason that when the payroll was this large when they were going down was the end of that 08 run, that 07, 08, 09, 12 into 13. They were still had guys on contracts, and it's kind of starting to feel like that. And
it is.
And the only thing I think that can change that right now is unless you can find trade partners and get off some of these contracts, which one you just signed earlier this year, so that's not happening. Bryce Harper might be the only one you could get off with without taking a loss. But still, what are you going to do with it? Like, that's my point is, like, what's going on with this? Like, I'm on the record saying I really thought that this year was kind of the Phillies were taking a pass on this year. Like, I really thought, like, the way things were going, that's before the Bichette stuff and everything, that they weren't putting their best foot forward. They're putting a foot forward, just not their best foot forward. And maybe that's true. Like, they're trying to get off the Bohm contract. They're going to get off the Nick Castellanos. They're paying $15 or $35 million right now between Walker and Nick Castellanos. So that's $35 million bucks they'll get back. Garcia won't be on the books next year. Bohm won't be on the books next year. So there's 4 guys right there. The Aiden Miller thing really, I think, set them back a little bit with his ghost injury that they're dealing with right now, that we still don't, it's not even swinging a bat right now, because I really think he would have been up here like way before any of the other guys. And Nooms brings up a good point. Last time they got this far below 500, they fired Joe G. Now, it took a little longer to get there, like into late May, early June, but
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't feel like, after after this road trip, like if they lose today, like he's going to come home tomorrow and they're going to fire him. They may do it. I don't see them pulling the trigger till at least mid-May on him. You know what I mean? And then, maybe like I said, maybe it's time for a different voice in that locker room. But something's got to give here. And to be honest with you, I would love to see them, again, if it's not working, start getting rid of some of these guys that they can bring up or start getting rid of some of these guys that they have on this team, make Stott available, make Bohm available, get rid of them, get a bag of balls for them, get them out of here. Again, you can bring Otto Kemp up. Otto Kemp played third base down for Lehigh Valley. That's where he was playing it. So it's not like Otto Kemp can't come back up here and play third base every day. You know what I mean? Like,
they said Otto Kemp down because Otto Kemp was just, he was batting a 0.28. Like it was low.
Well, listen, he's got to be a guy that's got to be in the lineup every day. He's one of them young guys that he feeds off of being having him up here on the bench. To me, to be honest with you, I didn't understand it. Like, I thought for sure he would probably start the year off down there, especially with Aiden Miller not being ready to go. They could have sent him down here. He could have got reps every day. He's got to have reps every day for him to be a player. He's not a platoon player. And you saw, I'm sorry, he kind of showed a little microcosm of what he can do when he's in the lineup every day. And you're not trying to put him in left field. Okay. You're not trying to put him at first base. He's a third baseman. Put him at third base. Let him play. He can't be no worse than Alec Bohm right now at this point. I don't get it. I just don't get it. To me, they're too loyal.
Might be the same thing, though. But keep going.
It may be the same thing. It may not be. You know what I mean? But give it a chance. Make Bohm a bench player. Or is it because, he's making too much money? Yeah, I definitely agree with that one, Nooms, your last comment there. I definitely agree with that. He's not that. Well, Al, listen. Big question. What's the meal of the day for the Safiri family?
Ham on the smoke. Well, we'll see. We'll see if the weather breaks. But right now, it's ham on the smoker.
Ham on the smoker. I want to do something.
I used to think it was a joke. I'm like, the ham's already cooked. You know what I mean? But when you score that thing and you put the right seasonings on it, and then I glaze it with a little hot honey, like towards the end.
It's love a hot honey.
It's like candy bacon meal.
Oh man. Oh wow.
I call it the poor man's what's it called? Burnt ends.
Okay. I'm actually going to do pasta this week. I got to go get a physical done for the state job today. So luckily, after I'm done getting filled up by the doctors, nothing likes to come home to some
Tell them to make
pasta.
it 3 fingers just to make sure they get everything.
I am. I'm going to come home with a smile on my face.
Yeah. Gonna whistle when you run. But other
line of the day right there. Line of the day.
But other than that, guys, thank you for joining us. We extended the time today. I had
2 hours. Holy cow!
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. We kind of knew today's show would run this way between the draft happening over the week. The Phillies.
My wife's about to start throwing daggers at me. I know Dawn's about ready to start throwing daggers at you.
Yeah, she's like, it's better. It's better off me away from her than around her. If I'll get the hooker, the smoker will be somewhere in the background.
That's awesome.
Okay, line of the
day. Line of the day. Oh, man.
Thank you. But guys, like we said, there's plenty coming up this week. There will be a Phillies post game with Matty B. He'll be back on that one. Of course, you get the Down on the Farm segment, which is just looking at with the possibility. We're going to need that just to have any hope with this team. Yep. We'll keep our eyes open. Like I said, there was a lot to cover this day, which why makes 2-hour episode kind of important. But other than that, he's Mike Lauro. I'm Big Al, and we're out of here.